podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to a new podcast, The Paddock and the Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello everyone. In my last podcast, I was joined by Jay Hovde to talk about the Kentucky Derby. And today I am delighted to be joined by Newmarket trainer and Sky Sports pundit John Berry to talk about this weekend's Guineas Festival at Newmarket's Rowley Mile and to talk about a few Guineas anniversaries. How are you today, John?
I'm fine, thank you. Sun's still shining in Newmarket. But will it keep doing so all week? That's going to be one of the other imponderables for the Guineas at the weekend. We're speaking a few days ahead of them now. And obviously, if the good weather persists, it'll be very fast ground, which is, when maybe the key races last season's Dewhurst, and that was run on soft ground. So, yeah, but I'm in a sunny Newmarket at the moment.
We always get used to your weather forecasts on Twitter, John. So nice to hear you talking about the weather. But to start with the anniversary theme in mind, what did you think of Lester Piggott and Frankel being chosen as the very first members of the Qipco British Champions Series Hall of Fame?
They were the obvious selections. We've got a Walk of Fame in Newmarket that, partially due to COVID, we haven't added to for 3 years, and it's a Newmarket-based one. Our first automatic horse was Hyperion, because I think we started it before Frankel. Before Frankel was certainly fully established as a star, but once he was an automatic choice, and Lester Piggott was one of our inaugural choices here. So, the thing about Hyperion was he was a totally Newmarket horse, and including his great stud career, and Frankel's a totally Newmarket horse as well. Stud career, it's going very well so far. He hasn't yet proved to have the long-term influence of Hyperion. But, if you'd look at it, leaving the Newmarket factor aside, if you just said to anyone who has been the greatest racehorse, flat racehorse you can think of, most people would say Frankel. If you'd say who has been the greatest flat race jockey, most people could think of, most people would say Lester Piggott. Obvious selection, good selection, then wonderful starting point. It's going to be great to see how this develops.
Well, am I right in saying that Emma, your wife, was on the panel?
I don't know. she may well be. I don't know. Which is good that I don't know, because when you're involved in, committees and selections, there's meant to be a degree of confidentiality. And so the fact that if she hasn't even told her husband shows that she really takes it seriously and does a very good job.
Well, she's done a very good job there. I checked today, and her name's on the website. So it shows that you didn't know who had been chosen. So, well, it's 10 years since Frankel's remarkable six-length win on the 30th of April 2011. What were your thoughts at the time about that particular race, and any reflections since?
Yeah, I think that was the only time that I saw Frankel win with my own eyes, rather than with the benefit of the TV. I was standing in front of, on the sort of the tarmac apron in front of the stands at Newmarket. So for the bulk of the race, watching the big screen. And after a couple of furlongs, I thought it would be different if a sort of a no-hoper or a horse had half a chance ran the race he ran, because you'd be watching it and, after 2 or 3 furlongs when he was that far clear, thinking, well, this isn't going to last, is it? He's, at what point are they going to come past him, before the bushes, after the bushes, at the furlong pole? But when it was the horse that you were thinking, well, this horse, you're going into racing thinking this horse really should win, and he was that far clear after 2 furlongs, you just thought, are we going to see a complete debacle, i.e. of a very good horse being beaten because of the race being run upside down? Or are we going to see a horse that's actually good enough to get set off this pace and keep going? In which case, we're watching, a very, very special race and a very, very special horse indeed. And, if we're thinking that after 2 furlongs, probably 50 seconds later, when he's inside the 2 furlong pole, and he's clearly nothing's going to get near to him. Even at that point, you're thinking, "Gosh, we're watching history now." It was thrilling.
Well, thank you for that. And moving on to Lester, he won the 2,000 Guineas 5 times, remarkably in 5 different decades. He won the 1,000 Guineas a couple of times. The last time 40 years ago when he won on Fairy Footsteps. I don't know whether you can remember that race in 1981.
Yeah, Fairy Footsteps. He was, the thing of that was he going to be able to ride? It had a fall. Well, he'd had a horrible injury in the starting stalls at the Epsom Spring meeting on a horse called Windsor Boy, who was trained by Bob Turnell, I think. Who was basically a really quiet old sprint handicapper. But for some reason, the horse shot underneath the starting stalls with no warning, sort of half pulled Lester with him. Lester was dragged under the starting stalls gate. His ear was nearly torn off. And, this was probably 9 days before the 1,000 Guineas. Fairy Footsteps was the favourite for the race for Mr. Joel and Henry Cecil. She was by Mill Reef. Her dam had already produced one classic winner, Light Cavalry by Brigadier Gerard. So, going into the 1,000 Guineas, this was really, she was the horse and he was the jockey on everyone's mind. And to have this just over a week beforehand, and pictures on the TV of him white as a ghost being stretchered off Epsom with blood pouring out of his head. And his ear was stitched up, rode with a helmet, big padding round his helmet, and won, which was wonderful. That was still, he probably race rode for another 12, 13 years after that. But he was already in the veteran stage as a jockey at that stage. So, it wasn't like a man of 22 having a bad fall. He'd have been, well into his 40s by that stage. But, he was just an absolute man of iron. The first thing was a major doubt as to whether Lester can ride Fairy Footsteps. But of course he rode her, and of course she won. Yeah, that was very special.
And as you said there, that Fairy Footsteps was a daughter of Mill Reef, and it's now 50 years ago since probably the most famous 2,000 Guineas of all, when Mill Reef in 1971 is racing against Brigadier Gerard and My Swallow. That's going back a long time, John, but as a historian of the racing industry, I'm sure you can remember the importance of that race. Yes, yeah.
I can't remember it being run. I was born in 1966, so I was still too young to be taking it in. But I do remember the sort of awe in which Mill Reef was held in my house, in my family's home. My dad bought a lovely picture of Mill Reef's head, which is in the house, which I've got now. And that was. I think one would be very hard pressed to name a race that's produced a better 1, 2, 3 than Mill Reef, than Brigadier Gerard, Mill Reef, My Swallow. Because of course it's easy to forget what an outstanding horse My Swallow had been. At the time there were 4 Group 1 2-year-old. Because I think the pattern was introduced the following year, so 2 years after. But there were basically 4 big 2-year-old races in France. The Prix Robert Papin over 1,100 metres, Prix Morny over 1,200 metres, Prix de la Salamande over 1,400 metres, Grand Criterium over 1,600 metres. My Swallow of David Robinson, horse trained in Newmarket, went over to France 4 times and he won all 4. And 2 years later, when the pattern was introduced, they were all given Group 1 status. So France's 4 Group 1. I think the only other horse to have won, it's a bit different now because the Prix Robert Papin has been downgraded. It's no longer Group 1. And I don't think Prix de la Salamande exists. But they were the 4 standout races. And I think the only other horse who's ever won all 4 was Horazzi. So, I was very glad in the introduction that you brought My Swallow into it, because if Brigadier Gerard and Mill Reef hadn't been there, My Swallow would then, himself in the record books as one of the greatest 2,000 guineas winner. And as it was, he only finished third. It would be this really one of the best 2-year-olds of all time, who then went on and was an easy winner of the 2,000 guineas the following season, which it would have been. No, it was an absolutely epic race. And I think the only 2,000 guineas which comes close is probably the 1984 one, El Gran Senor beating Chief Singer, Rainbow Quest, and Leofan. There's possibly Tudor Minstrel was the film of him winning in the, I think it was late 40s. He won in the style of Frankel. His 2,000 guineas win was basically on the par with Frankel's. But, the Tudor Minstrel and Frankel, you didn't have the superstar in second and the superstar in third as well.
Well, what makes a Guineas winning horse on the Rowley Mile at Newmarket?
Well, they've got to be very good. Number one is ability. Number two is precocity. You'd almost, I think it's sometimes referred as the last big 2-year-old race, because even the Derby, you've got a chance. The Derby is just over a month later, but you've got a chance of a horse that was relatively late developing to ready in time for the Derby, but in time for the 2,000 guineas, you've got to be a properly precocious horse. So ability, precocity. Newmarket's a tricky track, but I think we possibly overdo that. There are other tricky tracks around the country. Catterick's quite a tricky track, and people don't say there's a special horses one at Catterick. You've got to be well balanced. It can be run on fast ground, it can be run on soft ground. I think the majority are probably run on quite fast ground, but that's not always the case. But no, they've basically got to be very good horses. They've got to have high class speed and be able to run last out for what I always regard as the stiffest mile in the country. Whether you're talking about a high grade race or a low grade race, every mile race at Newmarket is truly run, and it's got a very stiff uphill finish. It's truly run straight. They never dawdle in the middle stages. They've got to have speed and stamina and just a hell of a lot of ability.
Well, moving on to this year's 2 races, we'll start off with the ladies, the 1,000 guineas. Last year was won by Love, who went on to win the Oaks. Now, Aidan O'Brien has won 4 of the last 5 1,000 guineas, and he has the favourite this year with Santa Barbara at 13-8. What do you think of her chances?
I just happened to notice a story on the Racing Post site saying O'Brien filly back into whatever 7-4 for the 1,000 guineas. I thought, which one is that? And I thought, oh dear, it's one I've never heard of. So, but they've just the O'Brien family between them had the outstanding 2-year-old fillies last season, and it was a matter of which did you like? Did you like Pretty Gorgeous? Did you like Shale? Did you like Aidan Selected? But on homework this spring, Santa Barbara has the market's going to be so strong. She has to have been doing outstanding work this spring to be as short in the betting as she is, and that'll do for me really. But I don't know anything about her. I don't even know what colour she is. I presume she's a bay, but if she walked past me now, I don't know what she looks like. I don't know anything about her other than the fact that she's been back for the Guineas and has been consistently for the last 3 or 4 weeks, as if she's a certainty. Of course, going back 12 months, Arizona was being very heavily backed for the 2,000 guineas, which didn't really make a lot of sense because his form had tailed off as a 2-year-old. But he'd supposedly done this superb gallop. He didn't run very well and ran particularly well again. I was a little bit dubious at the time because I was sort of thinking, well, he's a Coventry Stakes winner that probably needs to redeem his reputation. If you owned him, you could probably subconsciously implant in people's minds the fact that he was still a high-class horse for the sake of a few £1,000s in the betting market for 2,000 guineas, and would get them just put it in people's heads. Arizona top class horse, that even, and it would be money well spent as regards his stud career. But with a filly, that doesn't really apply. I don't think there'd be a lot of point in going around putting big bets on a filly in 1,000 guineas just to bolster her reputation, because when she gets to stud, she's just going to be a broodmare for them, breeding one foal a year, and you're not going to be selling nominations to her. So no, I'm happy enough to take the betting moves very, very seriously. I mean, Alcohol Free was really gutsy, terrific 2-year-old, and has made a really good resumption at Newbury. But going back to Newmarket being a step a smile, even probably on form-wise, she doesn't have a lot to prove. But to prove that she can do over 6, what she did over 6 at Newmarket and 7 at Newbury, proves she can do that in a really testing mile race at Newmarket. That's a step into the unknown. Nell Gwyn fillies look quite good. Pretty Gorgeous was a terrific filly last year. I really like Shale as well. I'm not sure I don't know if she's running, is she?
Yeah,
but no,
Santa
betting. Barbara for me.
O'Brien has a habit of the fillies running first time out in the Guineas. And as you said, Pretty Gorgeous won the Fillies Mile at Newmarket for Joseph O'Brien back in October. And you've also got some Newmarket horses with Sacred and Saffron Beach.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a real soft spot for Saffron Beach. She's she sort of a pick, came and won at Newmarket last autumn and won again. But it's funny, when I was sort of watching her on TV, I just thought she looks a nice little filly. But actually in the flesh, she's not, she's a big, powerful filly, a real strong filly. I know she's done very well physically through the winter. I'd seen her on the heath a few times, been really impressed by her. And she ran a lovely race in the Nell Gwyn to be second to William Haggis's Sacred. And you'd like to think that they'll both run their race. And, there's a very strong chance at least one of the two of them will be in the first 4, and reasonably strong chance of both be. But, you just can't get away from how the rock solid support. Well, I can't get away from the rock solid support for Santa Barbara.
Well, let's move on to the 2,000 Guineas, another race that Aidan O'Brien has won 4 of the last 6 run-ins. Although the favourite for this race at the moment is the 9-2 shot One Ruler, trained by Charlie Appleby, who hasn't run this season but won the Autumn Stakes over a mile at Newmarket in October. Yeah,
I mean, I think it depends which firm you're looking at, which is favourite, because, there are 4 horses very close together at the head of the market, which is the horses who filled the trifecta in the National Stakes at the Curragh and in the Dewhurst Stakes at Newmarket in a different order, i.e. St Mark's Basilica, Wembley, Thunder Moon, and One Ruler, who I think he closed his campaign with second in the race in Fairtown Futurity, wasn't he? I think after winning.
That's right.
Market.
Yeah.
They're all around. I think you can probably get 6 to 1 by going to different firms. You get 6 to 1 about any of them. I mean, I don't have an opinion between them. They're none of that. With none having run this year, it's a pig in the poke as to which has progressed the most over the winter. The betting is giving you no clue at all. Interestingly, about a month ago, I think of Aidan O'Brien's horses, I think Battleground was shorter than Wembley and St Mark's Basilica. I think he was favourite for the race. He's the longer price now. He's still in single figure odds, but he's we'll just have to wait and find out. It seems unlikely that Aidan will run all 3. Particularly when you've got the Poule de Cédé Poulain coming up. I thought the likelihood is he'll run 2 of the 3, and the betting seems to think Wembley and St Mark's Basilica will be the 2 that he run. He could well have the first two in the race, which he did obviously when Rock of Gibraltar beat Walkway, didn't he? He's probably had the Quinella other times, has he? But no, I mean, I just can't form an opinion. Muta Sarbeck, I think, is the shortest price of any horse that has run this season. He won really well at the great meeting, but in lesser company, he's down 1,000 guineas, and he's like the winner of it last year or the year before. So I mean, he's bred to do so, and he looked very good. But it's a big step up in class. I don't know. I'd be whatever I did back would definitely be an each way bet rather than a win bet. And I can't form a strong conclusion.
We've also got the winner of the Craven Stakes, which was Master of the Seas of Charlie Appleby's, and Chindit that won the Greenham.
Yes, yeah, Chindit looked a good horse that day. A nice tough win, and he was strong in the finish. You know, he didn't, as they passed the post, he wouldn't have said he had a lot in hand. Probably need to improve again to win the race. He could do. Master of the Seas, I think the betting has him as Charlie Appleby's second string, isn't he, behind One Ruler? It's this race is more open than most handicaps. You know, witness that 5 days before the race, they're betting 6-1 the field, which is nice. We've got a really good competitive race ahead of us, and it might well be that something comes out and wins by 4 lengths, and you know, something can win this race emphatically. They'll be shaping up as a very good horse because there are a lot of solid chances in the race, but there's no standout at the moment.
Well, thanks for that. Well, it's Santa Barbara then, John, for you in the 1,000 guineas, and only a sort of very weak each way bet in the 2,000 guineas in a very open field.
I mean, I just say, if I got to put my neck on the block, simply because he was Aidan O'Brien's first string in the Dewhurst, my 2,000 guineas bet would be Wembley each way, but I certainly wouldn't be bold enough to back him for the win. Right.
Well, you gave me the winner for the Melbourne Cup, so hopefully the same will apply for the 2,000 guineas. And that was a very good price, the Melbourne Cup winner.
Yes. Yeah, that's... I think I'm not sure what the last Melbourne Cup winner I'm back, probably Vintage Crop. So it's nice to get it right once every 30 years.
Well, thank you.
No, I'll tell you what, I had Duneton as well, but yeah, I must say I probably spend more time studying the form for the Melbourne Cup than the 2,000 guineas. It's my real favourite race.
Well, thank you for those 2 tips, and thanks for sharing your memories of the Guineas Festival at Newmarket. And thanks again for being back on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
A pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Paddock and the Pavilion. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and now on Instagram at the Pad and Pad. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.